Good morning, Rebecca Vigas, the Writer Whisperer here. Hoping you're all off to a great morning. We're going to talk writing and all things writing. What happens when you get stuck and you have no idea what to write? Easy peasy. Walk away from what you're working on. Read a book. Go someplace. Do something with your family or friends. Come back to it later. If it still doesn't grab you, find your pen and a blank sheet of paper. Oh, wait, that blank sheet of paper again. It's okay, guys. You can do this. Think about your life. Think about an incident in your life that really sticks out. It could be something from childhood. It could be something from your teen years, college or work years, later in life, anything in your life, but something that truly sticks in your mind and you can't ever seem to forget it. Did a lesson come from this? Or is it just bad memories? Or good memories? Let me give you an example. I have written this out, but I don't have it with me. I know it by heart. I lived it. Okay. I was probably 5.5 years old because my brother was 2.5 at the time, and he is 3 years younger than I am. And I hope he'll forgive me for sharing this story, but it happened. And the way I remember it, we were up north camping. And my youngest sister at the time was about 8 or 9 months old. My folks were over at the campground, and I'd gone to the playground to play. And I'd been there a while. And I was with some older kids who were there, and I was helping them wax the slide. Okay, the slide was 10 feet high, and it was an old metal slide. And at that time, are you ready for this? Bread didn't come in a plastic bag. It came in waxed paper. Yeah, you heard me, wax paper. So the kids had gotten old bread wrappers that were no longer being used, and they're waxing the slide because you know what that does? Makes you go down faster. So, because I wasn't real tall, I could only help towards the bottom. But I'd been up and down the slide even after it was waxed. My Aunt Rosemary came over with my brother, and he wanted to go down the slide. So she said, okay. And she sent me up behind him. So I went up the slide behind my brother, and he got to the top and he sat down, and it was a long way down. And he got scared. The ideal situation would have been to tell me to sit down and slide down with him. That didn't happen. My aunt said, go ahead and give him a push. Something she probably regretted forever after that. Because I'm 5.5, and you know what I did? I gave him a push. Not just a little gentle push. I really pushed. and he stiffened up because he was scared. My aunt didn't get to the bottom fast enough to catch him because it had been her plan to pull him off before he hit the ground. No, he hit the ground and he screamed loud enough that my mother at our campsite heard him and knew who it was. She grabbed my little sister and came running. My dad finished closing things up because my brother and my aunt had come after me because we were going to town. Not so he could slide down the slide. Well, long story short is my brother had a broken leg in 2 places. My fault entirely. I'm the one who pushed him. But it was her fault because she told me to push him and I did. We bundle him all up, get him in the car, and he's crying because, yeah, it hurts. It's broken. And they say, we're going to wrap his legs together and you have 2 options. You can go to Traverse City to the hospital or you can go to Flint, the hospital. Yeah, I lived in Michigan at the time. Well, we lived just outside of Flint, so we were going home. Not going to go stay in a motel in Traverse City, have a campground space in Gaylord, and a home in Flint. So we headed home. Dropped my brother and my mom off at the hospital. My dad took my aunt, my sister, and I home. And once they got my brother settled and he was down for the night, they came home. I'd been fine all day. And I was up half the night being sick. No fever, just sick. So I have to stay in the next day, not playing outside with the neighbor kids, because I have a 24-hour flu bug. Fine all day, eat good all day, go to bed at night, and I'm sick all night long. So the next day I'm inside, eat fine, play with my sister, no issues, go to bed at night, and guess who's sick again? So finally my dad talks to me and he says, "What's going on with you?" He said, "Your aunt tells me you're fine all day long, but you get to bed at night and you're not fine. What's going on?" So I tell him, it's all my fault that my brother's got a broken leg. No, it was an accident. And I'm thinking, I've damaged this brother of mine for life. Not, something's always going to be wrong. He's going to have a limp, something. Nah. He healed just fine. No limp. Was fine. Still fine as far as I know. But it stayed with me for a long time. A real long time. All my life. Because I now see the dangers of waxing a slide. And I'm kind of glad they're all plastic anymore. Can't wax plastic. I see the dangers of having slides way too high. 10 feet is too high. And that slide no longer exists at that state park. In fact, it was taken out long before I hit my teenage years. By the time I was a teenager and we went camping there, the slide was gone. So write something that made an impact on your life. It could be something good. It could be something bad. It could be something that was literally an accident. No one planned for my brother to break his leg. No one was out to hurt him. But it happened. So write out whatever it was that sticks in your life. It's a mini memoir. It's a personal narrative. It's only a page or two. It doesn't take volumes to tell you what happened in that incident. And my written account of it is much more vivid because it tells you about the smell of campfires and bacon cooking. Because that's what you smell in a campground first thing in the morning. Coffee being cooked over the coals. Yeah, you smell all this. So those things were included when I wrote it, but they're not included in the telling because it doesn't matter. You know, I was at a campground. So when you're writing it, write it with the details. Because those details are important. Does anyone ever have to read this piece? No. It's yours. It's personal. But once you've written it, then go back and look at the piece that you're actually working on and see if it's going to go somewhere. If it still doesn't work, put it away for 2 weeks. Don't even touch it. Walk away, do something different, write something different, do your morning pages every day, and come back to it after 2 weeks. If it still does nothing, that's for another segment, and we'll talk about it. Just put it away. Start something fresh. We'll talk about how you get back to that piece because you will eventually, if it's worthwhile, get back to that piece. You have to understand something about writing and words. They're magic. What you write for others to read is magic. And if you don't believe me, pick up something in your genre and read it and see if you aren't transported to that particular world at that particular time. Because I write mystery, thriller, suspense, I am always reading mystery, thriller, suspense. I also throw in some romance, not the Harlequin stuff. I read Nora Roberts, who writes about magic and other worlds and romance and does it well. Because maybe I can learn something from her. No, I can't copy what she writes. That's a violation of the law. but I can learn something by the way she writes. Patricia Cornwell. I can learn things about forensics that I would never know because that's what she writes about. Oh, there's a mystery and a murder and something else going on that she's got to solve. But she's a forensic scientist. And I know very little about forensics. Like, you know, that penhead, that tip. I would have to study forensics for a while to know anything and be educated enough to write about it. I've read James Patterson. I read David Baldacci. I even read his YA stuff. I read Jeffrey Deaver. I read, who am I reading right now? John Sanford. He writes the Prey books, Prey. Lucas Davenport, Virgil Flowers. Yeah. I read John Gilstrap. I've read Lee Childs. I've read there's somebody else I read a lot, and I can't remember who it is. That's really sad. Tess Garrison. Her books usually come in twos. Not always, but usually. Like she writes the first book, and you're kind of wondering at the end exactly how it ends. Oh, wait, there's a book two. I've read Heather Graham. She writes kind of a, it's not really horror. It's not really witchcraft. But it's somewhere on that scary element. One of her books is The Seance. The other one is Haunted that I've read. Lisa Reagan. So yeah, I do read. I read a lot. I've read C. Hope Clark, who writes about mysteries in South Carolina. She's done a series on Edisto Beach. There are countless authors out there. I mean, those are just a few. I have enough books in my house to start a small library. Now, if I can only find a place to put them all. And that does not count the books I've read and given away. Donated to libraries, nursing homes, wherever I could get rid of them and knew they would be read. Yeah, I do that. If you're not reading in your genre, how are you going to write? You're not going to write to compete with any of these best-selling authors. Well, you are, but that's not your main goal. Your hope is to one day make that bestsellers list and not just on Amazon, New York Times. That's the key. But in order to do that, you have to read and you have to write every single day. Not just once in a while, not just when it suits your mood, but every single day. Tomorrow, we'll talk about how to fit in time to write, especially if you have a 9 to 5 job, or if you work the second shift, 3 to 11, or the third shift, 11 to 7. Where in the world are you going to find time to write? That's tomorrow's edition. Today, I have a writing prompt for you. Only have to bend down to get it because somebody didn't put it within reach. Got it now. And yes, I'm sitting in a recliner chair so I can keep my feet up. It's always a good idea to keep your feet up, especially if you have a job where you're sitting. Find a little stool and put it under your desk. I have this book. It's called The Right Brain. It's exercises to liberate your writing. Oh, wait, it's by my friend Bonnie Neubauer again. Yes, I met and talked with Bonnie at the conference that I met her at. And so I thought I'd start with day 1 in her book. I want you to get a piece of paper right now. And I'm going to put some words in the chat. And I want you to pick the word that appeals to you most. Are you ready? Here we go. Whoops. Helps if I separate the words by a space. Yep, I knew that was going to happen. And it won't let me fix it now. Okay. Okay. These are your first 5 words. Alabama, banister, carousel, diesel, and exorcist. Write down the one word that appeals to you. Okay. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay. Here are your next 5 words. Flatulence, garage, harried, insensitive, and jambalaya. Now, just pick one that appeals to you. You only want appealing words right now. Okay, last one. Your 5 words are keepsake, lamb, massage, nonsense, and Oreo. Pick, not Oreo, Oriole. Pick one word out of those 5 that appeals to you. Okay, you should have 3 words. One out of each group. You're going to use these 3 words that you chose in a story that starts like this. Sometimes I feel like a gerbil running around and around on his wheel. And you're going to incorporate your 3 words into that. But I want you to take it one step farther. What kind of gerbil are you? 1, running round and round on a wheel. 2, avoiding the wheel. 3, fearful of leaving the wheel. Or 4, running freely without the need of a wheel. So, what kind of gerbil are you? Using those 3 words and that starting sentence. Now, the idea would be to share these with other writers. So go ahead and share what you've got in the comments. No one's going to criticize you. That's not what we're here for. We're here to see how comical you can make this, how serious you can make this, how interesting you can make this. Just see what happens. Run with it. And let me know what you've got. Happy writing. See you tomorrow at 10. Bring your cup of tea.